you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. There's a really great story of we were trying to convince Mom that I was hardworking on the farm, and so Grandma put me out onto her garden bed.
Rototiller?
With the
bookcases.
That's what I'm doing upstairs right now. What do you mean? Mom! So Mom, we're sitting in my front lounge, if you will. We've made it really moody, and this is a great example of a project that we've dreamt about for a year. Hi, I'm Channing.
And I'm Shelley.
I'm gardening.
And I'm designing.
And together, we're harvesting heritage. We've put together a number of questions to just give a little bit of our history and why. We want you to know us a little bit.
Yes.
So that you have a backstory when we're going into different projects, why what we're doing is making us thrive together. By the way, introduction, we have a special visitor. This is Augustus Maximus, also known as August, and he has moved with me
Since college.
I think 16 years old. So he likes being on Mom every time she comes to visit, actually.
More this time
More
than
this time,
normal.
yeah.
Yeah, he's getting
Yeah.
a little older. Needs
And of
a
course
little more body heat.
he matches both of us in our hair.
Augie had not been doing well for a while, and a few short days after we finished the video, he took a turn for the worst. His kidneys were shutting down, and Channing rushed him to the vet, but they said there was nothing more they could do for him. We had thought about taking August out of the video. He sat on my lap for the whole hour that we talked, and all you could really see were his ears and his tail. And so I thought it would be a fitting tribute to leave him in. So the rest of the video is dedicated to August. He was born in October of 2005 and passed March 2023.
All right, so how should we kick this off?
I'll ask you the first question.
You were around first. We'll start with you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So we're going back to and trying to explain why harvesting heritage. Most people think of Montana as the television show Yellowstone, but you actually come from the Northeast. Tell us what your Montana is like.
So I was raised on a farm. This farm is closer to Canada and North Dakota, so it's way up in the northeast part of Montana, where the hills are rolling and you see miles and miles and miles of wheat fields, and the winters are brutally cold. The spring comes in May, very muddy. Then June, July is a very hot summer with a lot of bugs, and then by September 10th it freezes again.
So when you talk about farm, can you give us an insight of when we say we're returning to our roots?
Okay, closest neighbor was my grandma and grandpa, and was not walking distance to their house. I've tried several times. A lot of good folk producing their own crops, their own vegetable gardens, a lot of camaraderie and self-sufficiency.
Yeah, and I think we still have family there, lots of family there.
Well, I have no family here, except
Right.
for you. So all my family's still there, yes.
Yeah, I still spend a lot of time there, and I feel my roots being
Right.
there as well.
And then when I was in high school, we moved to the town that was 3,000 people. And I finished my junior and senior year there. And then my mom moved to a different farm near there. And every summer I would send you there.
Mm-hmm.
Since you were little, we moved so often that I didn't have a chance to put in a garden. I know your passion for gardening didn't come from me. So where did it come from?
Yeah, so we just talked a little bit about how I would go back home to Montana, and North Dakota is where my dad's family is in North Dakota. every summer, and my grandmas did have gardens. Every single kind of mid-afternoon, my grandma would go to the garden to do her daily harvesting. And that was just so special for me. And then my grandma in Montana, she was living on the farm at that time, and she also had a garden. Though I don't remember her having me do much in that garden. She taught me a lot more about cooking.
Oh.
There's a really great story of we were trying to convince Mom that I was hardworking on the farm, and so Grandma put me out onto her garden bed
rototiller?
with the rototiller.
Oh. I still have that photograph of you.
Oh, maybe if you can find it, let's put
I
it
do
in.
have it.
Standing with the rototiller, pretending to put in rows to get the potatoes planted, and there was absolutely no planting that went on. That rototiller never ever turned on. Okay, so talking about the farm, somehow we ended up in California. You also started a journey to go to college for design, and you worked in construction. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Okay, so the folks will understand when you talk about your dad, you're talking about my first husband and your dad.
Yep.
And we lived in North Dakota, and that's where I met him, and that's where I went to the University of North Dakota at the time. I think it's downgraded to a community college now. And then we divorced, and Darren came into your life when you were 9 years old.
And I call him my papa.
So if you hear us say dad or papa, they are two different men.
Yes.
Both lovely men. When I met Darren, we married when you were 12.
Okay.
And he's been in your life for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're both actively involved in my life,
Yes.
absolutely.
I went to work for a commercial construction company. And when we came out to California, I continued with commercial construction work. I traveled a lot for the companies that I worked for. I did administration work to begin with, and then I became a project manager and a superintendent when I went to work for a smaller company. And so I know a little bit about everything, which could be dangerous.
When you say construction, it can mean a lot, but really, you actually have hands-on experience.
Yes.
It's kind of impressive to be a woman in a commercial construction world in the late 80s and 90s. It's not normal.
It was not normal. It was very difficult. That's all I'm going to say about that. You wanted to follow my footsteps and go into construction, and we dissuaded you. I'm glad that we did, because I think your profession is better suited for your personality.
I work for financial services.
Yes. How did you make your transition from Southern California, where Papa and I lived, up north?
I got a big job offer to go to San Francisco.
Where were you?
And I was in
before
San Diego. The job offer was really exciting and different. It was actually the first I was going to be moving into financial services, running operations for a financial planning firm, which is still what I do. And
for every mother out there, yes, it scared me.
a recruiter called me, and a couple days later I had an interview in San Francisco. So I flew out to San Francisco. By the time I had gotten home, I had the job offer in hand. And really they wanted me working with them in 2 weeks. So I called you, and I had taken the job about 7 or 8 years ago. So it was the height of the tech boom in San Francisco. And it was a wild ride, and a great decision for me. I had met my husband, Sean, and you guys will meet Sean and Papa quite a bit in our videos. And the sparkle of the city was starting to wear on both of us, both of our businesses. We wanted to move outside of the city. And so in 2020, early 2020, we did end up renting this beautiful little farmhouse.
Should we have our wine?
Yeah, you want? I brought you a gift.
So you get to see Sean early.
Hello. The waiter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Perfect timing on on the questions then.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Okay, next question. When you lived in San Francisco, you lived in a little apartment. How did you cultivate your gardening desires?
Oh, it was so fun. First, I started with houseplants. I had actually, up until San Francisco, I think I had convinced myself that I couldn't grow houseplants. And I didn't like fake ones, so I just had no greenery in my house. But I really craved that in the city, and so I got my first houseplant, the spider plant. And it's still here in
I didn't realize that was the same one.
Yep, same one. And so I ended up getting a handful of houseplants. Sean and I ended up getting some planters just on our fire escape. And we started growing. We had one tomato, and it was what was our tomato? It was the golden one.
Sun gold.
Turns out I don't like those. I tried lettuce and some radishes and some flowers. We had wildflowers up there, and I had three or four.
Those.
And actually, we can put a picture of that fire escape garden that started it all. You are also a certified interior designer.
Yes.
What type of stuff do you like and hate in design?
Oh, I love space planning. I'm very good at space planning. I love fabrics. I can spend hours.
Oh my gosh, how many
in LA.
hours in the downtown LA fabric district?
I can go without eating. I can be there from the time they open till the time they close. I never get overwhelmed. I love designing drapes to have them made downtown.
Right.
And at that time, the tassels and the gimp and
Right,
all
this is
the,
2000, it's
Yeah.
huge.
So I
bouquet.
did 10 years of Tuscan style.
This is when you were transitioning out of day-to-day construction and had started to take on more home projects.
Right. What I don't like, I know interior designers are going to hate this comment, but I do not like the tchotchkes. I don't like the bookcases.
That's what I'm doing upstairs
I
right now. What do you mean? Mom!
I don't like the bookcases that flank the fireplace, and then you have to buy all
Fill it. It's hard.
It is. Well, it's not difficult. I can do it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah. You also don't actually prefer to do wallpapering either. The new Penland stick.
This is my 4th time doing it. It's getting easier.
Yeah.
It's a little intimidating at the beginning because you have to peel the back off as you're putting it on the wall. And your walls have orange peel texture on it.
Really.
They were harder.
And then one last thing that you absolutely love. I know I'm looking over
Yes,
here
I know
at
what you're gonna say.
my tile above my fireplace that you did.
So Papa, for our anniversary, one year gave me a tile saw.
Construction grade.
Yeah, I love to tile.
And you're good at it too.
I'm patient, and with patience, you can get the cuts right. I was amazed at the amount of canning you did in your first year garden. What made you decide that processing your own food was important to you?
Yeah, so when I moved to that little farmhouse, the homeowner actually was very generous with me, and it was half an acre of just open field, and he allowed me to put in my first garden. 1,000 square feet gives you a lot of food. Even if you're a first-year gardener, if you fill that much space, plants want to grow, they want to thrive, and they will produce food. So I just didn't have much other choice. 2 people were not going to eat through 1,000 square feet of summer produce.
And that was during that terrible disease that went around the globe.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you could give it away because food banks weren't taking it.
Exactly. And so I thought, well, I guess like many of you, during that time, I have to learn, and YouTube taught me how to can, and I knew that that was the solution to the abundance, that I could make salsa, and I could make bread and butter pickles. My grandma made bread and butter pickles, and it was just the taste of summer, the taste of love. And so I was excited to start canning. Actually, there's a lot of resources. We'll link my favorite canning book that I'll be referencing throughout our videos that really taught me through that book and through YouTube how to can, and it also gave me a way to be adventurous and try things that you don't find in the grocery store necessarily. So you've remodeled a lot of houses for us, our family, and for others, and you've also remodeled an RV. Tell me about all that.
Papa got cancer, and he had some health issues before he had cancer, and
he's in recovery now. I don't know that we
yes,
shared that.
yes. And I started watching YouTube channels because he was quarantined because of the radiation he had to take, and I started watching RV shows. And so one day I went to him, and so I said, "Any interest in just selling everything we own and going on the road?" And he said yes. So we sold the house fully furnished and moved to Lake Havasu because we knew we could rent a house there fully furnished, and we thought if we'd be there for 5 months, we'd order the truck and we'd order the RV.
And in Lake Havasu, RVs are so typical that all of the houses that you wanted to rent
Had RV garages.
right.
Yeah.
You have some video about that, so we'll be posting a video.
I'll do a
more
separate video
on that.
on it.
And I think that's something that we're going to bring to this channel is not only we're starting to show some of the activities that we're doing now to continue to cultivate our relationship, but we've also been documenting for a long time some of these exciting adventures that we've been on. I think I have pictures of my first garden, and I have pictures of when I first got my chickens, and you have video of the RV, and you have incredible memories and video of that last house in Orange County. And so we'll be sharing lots of that in the future.
And it's things, because we've done it ourselves, that we can share with you and share things we did wrong and things we wouldn't do again and things we did right. And some went very well and some we had to try a couple times. I know you get a lot of your questions answered through YouTube. Which channels are your favorite YouTube and go-to channels that you watch?
I didn't watch YouTube actually. Mom, you caused the YouTube channel. I was still I was left behind in cable television. I had no idea that this existed. And now I've been watching probably for 4 or 5 years. But this all is because of Laura from Garden Answer.
Okay.
Absolutely. So you introduced me to Laura, and together with Papa and Sean, we went to Mackinac Island for one of their garden opportunities, and met her there.
The garden show on Mackinac Island, and I have the funniest video from there that we'll have to post.
Okay. So we still watch every single video that she puts out on both of her channels and draw a lot of inspiration there. But I'm also super inspired by the number of homesteading YouTubers. I'm loving Roots and Refuge. She taught me so much about first year gardening, vegetable gardening, and how to do irrigation and build raised beds. And I really love Acre Homestead. She has taught me so many great canning recipes because she's adventurous and she'll try to tweak where appropriate in a canning recipe to create something really great. And I think that it's really special for all of these people that they're putting their full life out there. We're harvesting heritage, we're going back to our heritage. How's that really working? You're still in Orange County and I'm here. How are we getting back to our heritage actually?
When we decided to sell everything we owned in Orange County, and we had some rental property as well, so we sold everything. We had no furniture, no place to come back to except for Darren's family.
And mind you, just for all of our viewers out there, this is gonna sound similar to a lot of what was happening in California, but you were cool before the cool kids were doing it.
Oh, looking outside of California.
Yeah, you were looking outside of California. Plus, you're not actually from California. Papa is.
Right. Why not go somewhere that we can have a farmstead? somewhere that we can have acreage. So we set out in the RV and we traveled 46,000 miles in 14 months. And we looked at Texas. You and Sean flew down. We looked at
'Cause that's where my dad
Texas
is.
because that's where your dad lives. Went to Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas,
Wyoming.
all the places people are now moving to.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kept going back to Boise. Now, Boise is closer to my family in Montana, and one of my criteria was I wanted to be an hour away from an airport and an hour flight to you. We looked at a piece of property on the Snake River in Caldwell near the wine country and found lots that were right on the river that were 2 acres, and it just didn't feel perfect. And Darren said, if the farmer across the street ever sold that land, and I laughed and I said, sure, honey, always wish for what's not for sale. And then it came for sale. And I saw it on Zillow, and I called the realtor we were dealing with in Idaho. But within a month, that 10 acres was ours. So we have 10 acres that I am designing a house and gardens
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. And, you know, part of Sean and my dream as well is to have acreage one day. And if I could have a milk cow, I don't even drink milk. I do like cheese.
Butter.
Oh, butter. Yeah. It's a far off dream for us. But we're using the home that we're on half an acre here. We have land to play with to make this not just a waiting room, but we get to learn in our waiting room. And I think that that's what you've been doing for a really long time, and you're starting to pen to paper on your dream homestead.
Yeah. So I remember the summer that you had a break at Cal State Fullerton, your economic studies, and you decided you wanted to go to the Institute of Interior Design in Newport Beach, where I had gone. I had gone there after North Dakota,
Right.
just for a tune-up. And so I'm wondering, do you enjoy design as much as you do gardening?
Yeah, and I think that my garden is such a picture of design. Like I'm not just throwing together first 1,000 square foot, then a 4,000 square foot garden, now my raised beds. Like I do it to create beautiful spaces that speak to me and create peace and calm, and that is design. And then you grow up moving every 18 months in different houses, and you always prioritized my bedroom.
I did.
Every single home I ever lived in, you went into my bedroom first and you changed it. I got to have something new and really special. And that fed into me and my love of design as well. Right now I'm loving kind of going back to heritage. I love finding these great antique pieces that they don't make them like this anymore.
The disease happened when you were trying to furnish this house, because the only place you could find furniture was at the antique stores, the antique malls, the secondhand stores. So you got some fabulous pieces.
Treasures.
Yes.
And at the same prices as going to West Alamo. And that's something that we're going to bring you guys along with us as well, is we love antiquing and finding treasures and bringing them back to life. And we want to bring you along for some of that as well.
But your design of your raised bed inspired me, because I have 8 acres that I have to leave agricultural, and therefore it has to be planned. And I always cut down every single tree that was in our yards when Darren and I bought a house, because being from the plains in Montana, there were no trees unless it was a windbreak. And Laura with Garden Answer gave me a whole new perspective on trees. I'm going to be planting trees first.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I like design. You don't like to cook. Actually, grew up that you didn't like to cook. What's changed?
I have time, and food was not my thing. Still isn't really my thing. But when Papa got sick, I wanted to take care of him better. I wanted organic foods. I wanted to make sure of what he was eating, and I just really, and he's so easy. He loves anything I cook. It could be Oh, one thing he doesn't like, tuna casserole.
I know, and it's Sean's favorite, which is so funny.
Yeah. But, and he praises me, you know, everything I cook, he's just like, this is the best ever. Well, when you have that, you feel free to experiment and try to cook. So, yeah, I have really gotten into cooking.
Bread more recently.
I have been, the rustic breads are fun. I know how to make a poulish. And
I think it's been fun because that's one area where you're calling me and asking, what is this thing on my plant? What's eating my plant? Or, you know,
why is my plant dying?
Yeah, and you did, we did the pressure canner for the first time, and you did canned potatoes, and I think you've really loved those. We're doing it on camera anyway to one another on FaceTime, so why not record it?
Yeah.
You have a lot of additional hobbies beyond design and gardening now, and you've put a garden in on your rental.
Yes.
We'll have to show you a picture of that. But what are some of your other hobbies?
I, for years, model for the Costumers Guild and charity functions. And we would model anywhere from medieval to the 50s. And our love is Victorian. And I got you into some costume. I love to sew.
Yeah.
I have always sewn since I was 7 years old.
Seamstress.
I'm an okay seamstress.
Exceptional.
The exceptional ladies do the costuming.
Okay, so we're gonna put a video here of her in some of her costumes.
The last question. We know that you have been in the house, you moved in September, so it'll be 2 years, but you looked at a lot before you were able to purchase this house. Tell us how many and how did that go?
Yeah, so it was more than a year and a half. Like I said, we started looking in 2019 and we didn't end up getting this house until 2021. And I think ultimately we offered on 20 houses and just kept being bid out by people with all cash offers.
Yep.
And ultimately, you know, we feel incredibly blessed. We feel God-led by this is by far the best house of all of them that we offered on. It's also the youngest house, so it's not a 1960s flip like you had to do, which was probably
Good thing.
a good thing. That would have been over Sean and my capabilities, particularly given that we can't get construction help, or we have very limited construction help or updating here. We're doing with your help. So 80% of our budget for renovations has been on the backyard and cutting down some slopes, putting up retaining walls, drainage, that kind of thing.
Oh, and I will link here the rains of last month that almost took out your garden.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
It's fixed now, but we're learning. And that one we could have learned a little bit better. We were told to put in drainage.
A French drain.
A French drain, and
chose not to.
Chose not to because it was a couple $1,000s, and it was far more than that to fix, but it's fixed now.
So I hope you enjoyed seeing a little glimpse of behind the scenes with Channing and Shelley.
If you like this video, please consider pressing the like button, sharing it on your social media, and if you enjoyed spending time with us, consider subscribing. And until next time,
have a joy-filled day.
Thanks.
That's
what we're doing upstairs right now. What do you mean?